Good afternoon, DJ Nation, and welcome once again to another exciting edition of Reactive Recaps. I am your wonderful host, Rancid R2, sitting along beside me as always from Trading from the High Discord, none other than the Birdman himself. How are we doing, Bird?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Not bad. Did you have a nice weekend?
Yeah, it was a good weekend. Tournament ended up getting rained out, so we didn't go to that. But got some things done around the house that needed to be done.
Love to hear it. I had a crazy weekend. I'll tell you a little later in the episode. But for all those people that are listening for the first time, and I pray nightly that it's a lot of you, what Bird and I are doing here is a free educational service just to try to help some retail traders figure out how to get their head out of the woods and hopefully move out of your parents' basement. We are going to attack the options and futures market a couple times a week. We're going to try to point out some actionable setups that you geniuses can find for yourself and hopefully execute by yourself. We're going to talk to you about proper risk management, how to do stops. We're going to teach you as much stuff as we can so that you don't feel so lost in the chaotic market. Okay? So we do this 3 times a week or as many times as we can. Our goal is to help you guys do as best as you can with as little stress as possible and hopefully with a lot of money at the end of the day. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to my man Bird to open us up with what he's got for this morning.
All right. So this morning, I'm looking at MNQ. I traded it this morning after the open. I had some stuff going on earlier this morning, so I didn't get to my desk till about 11 o'clock. And I saw this trend line forming here. Let me adjust it to what it originally was on that first trade. Okay, so I drew this original trend line. Took a long right here on number 1. I realized that there was still some strength in that trend line as it went up and took profit. So I adjusted it a little bit just to that end of that tail there, to the wick here. And then it came back down, retested that trend line again, and I took it again long. Both trades ended up going 30 points on MNQ for a brand new Top Step eval, and it was a good morning.
Trend lines usually are pretty good. I know we've been slamming our hands on fists on the table for about 2 weeks now on this subject and how easy it is to 1, draw, 2, identify, and 3, execute.
Yeah, one thing I would like to add, for my fuck up last week, Friday, is I was drawing trend lines on smaller time frames and not looking at the trend on the larger time frame. And I really fumbled the bag on Friday on that nice trend day, trying to trade smaller trend lines instead of looking at the whole trend in general.
You want to hear something really tragic about Friday? I didn't even take a single trade on that beautiful, beautiful trend day. Didn't take a single trade. I had some stuff to do, and I'm trying to teach myself, painfully at times, that I don't need to be a market participant all the time. I can use this freedom that I'm trying to chase all the time to actually do things. So I was able to go out to the beach town and spend the weekend there with the family. It was great, but I did have some FOMO, and I'm proud of myself for fighting that off to hop in the market on a Friday.
Yeah, and all these mobile apps and everything make it real easy to do so.
It's scary easy to do so. You know, I was reading in the Tom Hogarth book about how jealous he is of all retail traders today with the technology that we have available and how much easier it is to be a market participant than it was when he first started out. And you know, I think about that sometimes and how much more easy it is for us than it would be, you know, back 30 years ago to do something like this.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I first started trading prop accounts and everything, I traded strictly off of my phone. and I would pull out a business card or my driver's license and lay that over my phone screen to draw trend lines.
Amazing and hilarious and fairly innovative.
It worked,
Um,
but now that, I'm not mobile, I'm sitting behind the computer and I get to relax.
Relaxing trading is my favorite type. I hope that's the goal of everyone listening, to get to a relaxed trading. Um, just today, someone in one of the discords that I participate in was, you know, and I'm sure you've seen this in your own experience, Bird. People that when they do something poorly, they their emotions take over so bad that they have to pour out their soul into the Discord for everyone to feel sorry for them or pick them back up or whatever. And
Yeah.
this person is describing the exact opposite way of trading that you're supposed to. He lost, no joke, Bird, 14 PAs on Friday. On Friday. I don't know how it's possible. But it's scary that some people have such loss aversion that they don't stop. They just can't stop. They
Yeah,
want to make up that last losing trade or get the last $10 to pass an eval. It's crazy.
it is. And that's where the self-awareness comes in. And that's something you have to build and recognize and work on to be able to realize when you're losing control and be able to stop.
And like, when you think about how much work and money and time people put in to pass 14 evals to then lose them all in one day. And I made the mistake, Bird. I actually asked him how he did that. Do you want to hear his reason how he did it?
Yeah.
Averaging down.
That is that is something I learned that I never do. Once my stop is in, it is in and it is not moved. And I have a hard stop set and I'm not going to average down into that position. Now, it did take me a long time to learn that lesson, but I have learned that lesson for sure.
If you hear me, retail traders, new traders, semi-experienced traders, okay? If the word average down is in your trading vocabulary, delete it. Respect your losses. Take a loser. It happens to everybody. The quickest way to get tilted and multiply your losses exponentially is averaging down. If anything, you should be adding to your winners, not adding to your losers with a big bunch of copium. So with that, I'll move over to my recap from today. It's identical to Bird's. I was gonna look at I have QQQ up here. You can see we started the morning with a dump. And the night session kind of led me to believe that was going to be a dump it open. So after the dump it open, I marked low a day, as you can see right here, when we started to reverse. So I watched it, and these are, as Bird and I has mentioned numerous times, these are patient trades, trendline trades. These are not, fast ones. These are ones that you have to wait to develop. And because they develop, they usually could be quite profitable if they work out. So here's a trend line. I started it down here. Waited for it to form before I could even draw it. Yeah, I had something drawn up here earlier, but it came back down. I wanted 3 touches. I got 1. I mean, here's number 2. Here's 3. Okay, now, as I mentioned this every time, experienced traders, some of them take them here, right on this somewhat hammer candle, and you could have taken that up. Some people like to wait to the 3rd. You could have done that, taken it up. Now, this trend line is very important, and I wanted to highlight it for a couple of reasons. Okay, 1, see this candle broke below it, but as any experienced trader would tell you, it's always best to let the candle close, right? So as you can see, it closed green, but you always want to get a retest of the line just to be safe. So next candle, we retested it, bounced up. Would have been a great trade. Okay. And you could have rode this all the way. Now, one thing I can point out, another thing is a break of the trend line. Okay. Let's just see it right here. Okay. This candle broke the trend line, came back, retested it. Now, this is a risky play, guys, because it didn't get a lot of movement after the fact, but you could see later it couldn't get back over it. So you could have taken a short right here because it couldn't get back over it after trying to retest it. So you can see it works on the way up, and it could also work on the way down, same line. So just something I wanted to point out that, aside from the obvious bounces off the trend line, this trend line actually highlights the importance of waiting for the candle to close and waiting for a retest of the line before hopping into a position. So that's my basic recap from today. And I know it's identical to yours, Bert, but I think us hammering the table on these issues is very important so people will realize that these are just the most simple, easy setups that can be very profitable in the long term.
Yeah, they they really are some of the simplest trades that you can make. And they have a high percentage of working out. I mean, it's not every time, but they do have a high percentage of working out. And I mean, I've made a fortune off of trend lines alone.
And it's just as simple as following the trend, right? That's it. There's no looking at a crystal ball here. There's no flipping over tarot cards or calling a psychic on the phone. It's simple patience, confidence, and then management, honestly. And that's something I think we'll get to in the near term about, how best to manage certain risks that you're taking and how best to optimize your leverage and not YOLOing.
Yeah. That risk management is absolutely key to trading. I mean, we can sit here and point out possible entries all day, but it's when do you take some off the table? Where do you put your stop? When do you move your stop to break even? And everything that really makes the trade.
Yep. I mean, there's so much little things that can have such a large impact on your overall trading. I've heard it said by so many retail traders who have moved on to be very successful traders. It was a small tweak here and there that converted them from someone like me, who I consider myself a very average trader, to someone like Bird, who's a very good trader. So those are the kind of things that you got to keep your eyes on going forward too, everybody. Is it could be as simple as your risk management isn't right. You're oversized, you're undersized, you're not taking profits at the right point, you're entering too early, you're not waiting for a retest. Very, very simple things that could really convert you from being mildly successful to really successful. So always, and I know Bird is like this too, but I'm always constantly reevaluating my system. How am I doing it? Am I going in the right size? Am I going in too heavy? Am I going in too light? I'm always doing this. And that's the only way I can really make sure that I'm doing the best job that I can. We got a pretty big week this week coming up with CPI, I believe is tomorrow.
Yeah. We have CPI and PPI this week, I believe.
If you're listening and you're new, be careful. CPI is very, very volatile. PPI can be very, very volatile. If you're new, your volatility is something you should be nervous about because things can move very, very quickly and you could win or lose a lot very fast. So just something to keep an eye out on, everybody. CPI, a lot of people don't even touch it.
Yeah, it's fortunate enough it is 8:30 before market is when CPI numbers come out, so that would be us futures traders. I typically stay away from it. It's just whipsaw action, and you have to be extremely, extremely lucky to get to end up not losing quite a bit of money there. And then we have core PPI on Wednesday, And then unemployment numbers on Thursday, just like every Thursday.
So, in other words, what we're trying to get across, people, is playing defense is a strategy. Not being in a position, that's a strategy. That's a position. Being in no position, being flat is a position. Okay. And oftentimes during these types of economic reports that come out, it's the smart person's play to wait and react to it instead of trying to predict it. Okay. You'll see all these people on Twitter posting these huge gains because they gambled. And that's what it is, people. Gambled on these reports. Now, if you want to gamble your money, I'm not going to tell you not to, but that's not trading. Okay? That's gambling. I wanted to just briefly tell Bird this ridiculous story from my weekend if you want to hear it.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So one of the reasons I had to visit my father is because I borrowed his car. Okay, and he wanted it back, which is reasonable. So I hadn't been driving my current car for a few months because I was using his car because his car is a lot better and more useful for what I needed it for. But I had to return it. So when I got back to my traditional car, the car I drive most of the time, usually, it wouldn't start naturally. So I had a dead battery. So this is just crazy. So I asked my wife if she has in her car a set of jumper cables, and she's like, "Oh, absolutely, of course I have jumper cables, Keith." And I'm like, "Okay." So when I attached them to the dead battery, the jumper cables, even before I attached them to my wife's battery, caught on fire.
Oh my.
In my driveway.
I've never seen that before.
I didn't even know that was possible. Like, I'm going to text you a picture of these cables later. It's unbelievable. So I tell my wife the car's on fire, which I shouldn't have done because that escalated the problem a little bit for us. But after I calmed her down, I found a second pair of jumper cables and got the car started. So I drove it to the auto body place to get fixed. Okay, I drove it there at 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday, right? So I'm like the first guy there. My wife picked me up. We spend the day doing yada yada, and at 6 o'clock I call him like, "Hey, where's my car?" He's like, "You can come now to get it." Okay, how much is it? 1,500. I needed all new brakes, rotors, pads, and a new battery. 1,500. And he made me wait 8 hours to get it. I was so angry last night, Bert. And then to top it off, I had to watch the Jets play. Ugh, terrible.
Yeah, that was not a good game from what I saw of it.
I mean, New York football is a joke. All of them. Whether it be the Giants, whether it be the Jets, or even the Bills. They're all playing like garbage.
Yeah, my Vikings are actually turning it around. Did pretty well the last 2 weeks. Josh Dobbs is turning out to, or the Pastronaut, as he's referred to, is doing pretty well for us.
I kind of love that. I read yesterday in the Post, which is the greatest newspaper of all time, that Carson Wentz reached out to the Jets to see if the Jets would want to take him on to help Zach Wilson. The Jets said no. Are they insane? Like, it's crazy. But how did Alabama do against their Pee Wee football team?
Alabama did well against Kentucky. Yeah, they it was just some good old fashioned Alabama joyless murder ball. Ohio State did well too. They played some murder ball there.
Yeah, they did. Michigan State's a joke, though. It was a mercy killing.
It's a Pee Wee team themselves.
It is. It really is. I'm interested to see more what happens with this Jim Harbaugh thing. Have you been following it at all?
briefly, I've been following it. I really enjoy the fact that they're trying to tie South Carolina into the whole mess.
It's wild that they went and filed an injunction against the NCAA to prevent the suspension is so crazy. So crazy.
It may be them trying to get ahead, because then they can sit there and say, well, we did something about it, even though,
I mean, they're gonna the last 3 games of the season are the only games that matter.
yeah.
Like Michigan and Ohio State is literally the only game that either program actually honestly cares about until the national playoffs. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Big Ten just suspended him for 3 games, knowing that if he took it to court, it would get over, the restraining order would be put in and everything, and then they can say, hey, they could completely wash their hands of it to the NCAA, saying we did something about it. It's the courts that let him back in, and blah blah blah.
It's crazy. But in all fairness, in all of college football, the only person I want to be today is the Texas A&M football coach. Did you see that story?
Jimbo Fisher.
Yep.
No, I did not. Is he
He's
getting?
been relieved.
Is he getting bought out?
Yep. $80 million.
Him and old Ed Orgeron are going to have to go meet in Panama City Beach.
I just can't get over what an amazing opportunity that is. Like, you get your coach, you get paid $8 million a year, you get fired, you still get your full contract, and then you get another job. It's unreal.
It is. It really is. I need some job security like that.
Right? Talk about a reactive. My God, that's amazing. All right, so that's pretty much all I had for you today, DGen Nation. What I want you to take away from today is trend lines again. Look for them, trade them, make money. The second most important thing I want to bring up today is remember being flat as a position. You don't have to be a market participant all the time. The stock market will be waiting for you when you get back. All right, go take a walk. Go take a walk with your wife or husband. Go spend time with your kids. All right, you're never going to get that back. And now that we're moving into the holiday season, everybody, it's even more important that you do that. Okay, the market will be here.
Yeah, most definitely. It is going to be here. And if you are trading in it, remember to plan your trades, trade your plans, and preserve that mental capital, because it is more important than the monetary capital.
And we'll fuck some shit up this week, people. Promise. And where there's chaos, people, there's opportunity. So just remember, and don't be afraid.